A new report on the January 6 timeline completely exonerates President Trump, shows exactly what he intended to do and how he was stonewalled by people on the other side as he was preparing for the protests on January 6. The report comes from the Oversight Subcommittee. Representative Chairman Loudermilk, this gentleman right here, you know who he is, has assembled this really great timeline, and it outlines all the failures of the DOD, Mark Milley, Nancy Pelosi, the Democratic leadership who were in charge of the House and the Senate to deploy the D.C. National Guard. They didn't want to do that in support of the Capitol Police. We're going to go through this entire thing, but it's well sourced. So before we jump into it, I want to just show you this. All of these hyperlinks, these underlined blue links, go to very serious resources. This is what it looks like here. All of them are the transcripts from Tony Ornato, from Christopher Miller, the transcript from Stephen Sund, and so on. Memos from Ryan McCarthy to William Walker, and so on and so forth. You can see it's all well-sourced, and so if anybody wants to dive into it and verify that it's true, there's the resource for it. But here's what the committee released in their press release. They posted this. They said, Chairman Loudermilk releases a timeline of the National Guard deployment, saying this timeline is now out. It's compiled using DOD, Capitol Police, D.C. National Guard timelines, sworn testimony from firsthand witnesses, even Mayor Bowser, who was there in D.C., Secretary Miller, Secretary McCarthy, Chief of the Capitol Hill Police, Stephen Sund, before he was asked to resign by Pelosi, an Army report of the operations timeline, and newly released footage from Nancy Pelosi's daughter in their January 6 HBO videos. Okay, so they corroborated all this, assembled it together, and this is the timeline that shows Trump is totally exonerated. So we rewind the clock. This is all prior to January 6, 2021. The National Guard timeline, all right? December 31st, 2020, Mayor Muriel Bowser comes out, and she actually does request some aid. And so we often forget that, okay? She actually came out until they told her, hey, we want this thing to happen, okay? Stop asking for National Guard. We want this entire situation to explode. So don't get support in here to stop that from happening. So she actually requested Secretary of the Army, Ryan McCarthy, not Kev, to provide the National Guard. She says, how about you come out here and support the Metro Police? That was on the 31st before J6. Then a couple days go by on January 3rd. Secretary of Defense, Chris Miller, he meets with Trump at the White House, and Trump concurs, linked up with some sources there, to activate the D.C. National Guard to support law enforcement. Weird. Why would somebody who wants to insurrect the country and take over the United States do that, huh? Well, then Capitol Police, same day, on the 3rd, Stephen Sund, who wrote an amazing book on Amazon, you can grab it, he asked the Senate Sergeant-at-Arms Stenger and the House Sergeant-at-Arms Paul Irving to have the D.C. National Guard assist on J6. So Capitol Hill Police say, can we have some National Guard to the people who make those decisions? And Nancy Pelosi's in charge of the House, as we know. Then on the same day, Sund advises Major General at the D.C. National Guard that the U.S. Capitol Police may need support on J6. But he tells them, I don't have the Capitol Police Board authorization at this time. Because guess what? Look at this. Senate Sergeant-at-Arms and the House Sergeant-at-Arms have denied those requests. Huh? So Trump says, bring the National Guard. Capitol Police says, bring the National Guard. The people in charge of the Capitol say no. And guess who really is in charge of the Capitol? Nancy Pelosi at the time. So Secretary Miller and Secretary McCarthy formally approved D.C. Mayor's December 31st request to support to help with traffic control points. Okay, so like, well, we'll help with some traffic. On a call with Mayor Bowser, then on the 4th, so we're the next day, 2 days before the event, White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows offers 10,000 National Guard to support public safety. And we know this because we read Muriel Bowser's rejection letter many times on our channel. But this is, again, footnoted. 10,000 National Guard. 2 days before, U.S. Capitol Police Chief Sund informs Sergeant-at-Arms in the Senate and the House in separate discussions about the Guard's ability to provide the troops, but you got to approve it. You got to authorize it. Hello, I need your permission. Will you ask Nancy if we can please secure the Capitol? But guess what happens? Mayor Bowser, the next day, sends a letter to the Department of Defense confirming the city of D.C. is not requesting support from law enforcement and discourages any additional deployment. You see here, January 5th, she wrote this back. To be clear, Muriel Bowser signed this. The District of Columbia is not requesting other law enforcement, and we discourage any additional deployment without immediate notification to and consultation with the Metro PD if plans are underway. Utmost concern. We're mindful. We've not requested any other people. Don't send people to our location. We're good. Now then, President Trump on the 5th, he calls Secretary Miller and he offers again to maintain public safety on January 6, 2021. So even after, right, basically the same day, she's sending, I don't want them. Trump says, can we please have them? Would be a good idea. Why would Bowser not want them? Well, we remember because at the time they were saying Trump wants the National Guard to take over America. We're not going to let him put his troops all over Washington, D.C. and just take over the country. So then he doesn't bring the troops out. They reject the troops. And then the feds come and cause an insurrection. And then they say, Trump's trying to cause an insurrection. We say, no, he wanted to secure the Capitol. What are you talking about? On 11/35, demonstrators start to move from the ellipse to the U.S. Capitol. Then we have the first breach, 12:53, outside perimeter. So all the preps have failed. How about the day of? Is Nancy Pelosi going to spring into action? Is the House Sergeant at Arms, Paul Irving, going to jump into the fray? Now, nope, 140, the House Sergeant at Arms, Irving, he seeks to speak to Pelosi's Chief of Staff, Terry McCullough. Okay, first breach, 12:53. So then we know at 140 on the House floor, he talks to Pelosi. He's trying to relay Chief Sun's request to get Nancy Pelosi to give the thumbs up on the National Guard. Can they please come out now, any minute now? Nancy Pelosi apparently says no. Chief Sun calls MG Walker, asks for immediate assistance at 1:49. So he calls this person. 9 minutes later, calls someone else. Hey, the perimeter's been breached. Can we please have some help? 9 minutes later, he calls again. He calls the House Sergeant at Arms, Irving, informs them that the Capitol Police Board has formally approved the request for the DC National Guard. Then he calls Walker, requesting immediate support from them. Walker advises Sun that the quick reaction force would be ready if immediately authorized. We could be there like now. Secretary McCarthy, though, withholds unilateral approval to deploy them. Secretary McCarthy is not going to be approving this. Weird. Then 2:12, there's the first breach of the Capitol. Oh, perfect. Exactly what they wanted to happen. So then Walker emails McCarthy advising of Chief Sun's request for immediate assistance. So now everybody knows. McCarthy's got it, 2:19, Capitol Hill Chief of Police. We need help right now. No response, no email, no phone call, nothing. LTG Piat and Flynn state that they don't like the optics of National Guard standing on the Capitol. And so Secretary McCarthy would not support their request. So no one gets to come in because it'd be bad optics. They want these optics. This is their entire narrative for the rest of the election. They wanted MAGA signs all over the place, which is why they enabled it and allowed it to happen. 2:44, they shoot and kill Ashley Babbitt. 2:50, then they evacuate the House. The Trump administration did everything they could, was having multiple conversations, meeting with multiple people to have preparations in place to stop the Capitol building from being ransacked. But the people in charge of everything ultimately wanted it to happen. Nancy Pelosi, Liz Cheney, Mark Milley, all the rest of them saw this operation as giving them a real big opening to weaponize this event against Trump and the Republicans, and they absolutely did that to the fullest extent possible. We had all of their book reports explaining to us how this fake narrative was the end of American democracy. And so the truth is now coming out about what happened on January 6th, and more truth will be revealed. And we're grateful that you were here and going through all this content with us. Now I want to transition to another amazing story about EMF radiation and an amazing company called American AAIRF that can help us get prepared to protect ourselves against EMF radiation and provide some amazing opportunities to learn more about the company and some of the great work they're doing in the world around us. Let's check in with our friends from American AAIRF. Every day, we're surrounded by technology that makes our lives easier. But did you know these devices also emit electromagnetic fields? They're called EMFs that can affect our health. That's why I have this device on my phone. It's called LifeTune from American AAIRF Inc., the company behind AAIRF Tech. And this awesome device helps shield me from the harmful EMF radiation flying through the air, and the company behind it, American AAIRF, is doing amazing things. I'll tell you how it works, but first, what are EMFs? EMFs. EMFs are invisible energy waves produced by electrical devices, and while we need them for our cell phones and our live streams, prolonged exposure to EMF radiation has been linked to various health risks, things like increased cancer, neurological disorders, and genetic damage. But now we have American AAIRF, a leader in EMF protection technology. With over 20 years of research and development, American AAIRF has created patented solutions to safeguard your health. At the heart of all AAIRF products is their proprietary silicon-based AAIRF resonator chip. It's designed to neutralize the negative health effects of EMFs. But how does it work? AAIRF Tech uses proprietary silicon resonator technology to neutralize harmful EMF radiation. Their patented method restructures radiation, reducing its negative effects and enhancing the physiological performance of the person under its protection. Their technology has been scientifically validated through numerous trials and research studies, with peer-reviewed publications confirming the positive biological response. Let me show you how it works. Here's an image of the resonator chip, which is this item you see right here. We'll explain how it works. It says the topological circuit of this patented microprocessor's resonator antenna, it accumulates the charges, it gobbles them up. A cell phone's or other electronic devices, quote, electromagnetic impulse generator serves as the source of these charges. When an excess charge or polarization has built up, it automatically is redistributed to this resonator chip, which uses the charge to cause a coherent transformation of the field in the form of a hologram made up of regularly alternating maxima and minima, until the hologram then interacts with the external radiation, restructuring the harmful EMF into a more biologically compatible form, reducing the conflict between the radiation and the human body's cells. The resonator is backed by experts like neuroscientist Dr. Dagris, and it's endorsed by top athletes like Tiki Barber and Macy Barber, because AAIRF Tech is trusted by those who rely on their physical and mental well-being to perform. Even celebrities like Kim Kardashian and her daughter use their products for protection, as you can see here. And AAIRF Tech customers report significant improvements in their well-being. From better sleep to enhanced mood, they agree AAIRF Tech products make a noticeable difference. And now, as an official UFC partner, AAIRF Tech can reach 700 million fans in 170 countries, amplifying their brand recognition and their global reach, which should really drive a lot of interest in their solutions. But American AAIRF is not just an amazing product company, it's also a thriving business. Since CEO Josh Brunei joined the company, sales have quadrupled to over $10 million annually. And with 61,000 customers across 93 countries and a global patent protecting this technological advantage, American AAIRF is poised for substantial growth. Their diversified revenue drivers include direct-to-consumer sales, international distributors, and OEM licensing opportunities with a potential market size of $2 billion. For a company with a market cap of about $52 million and this UFC deal, they could be on the verge of exploding. And that's great, because American AAIRF operates on a scalable model, outsourcing manufacturing and fulfillment to provide instant scalability and flexibility. With fulfillment centers in the USA, Canada, Australia, and the EU, and components sourced globally, they ensure efficient operations and expansion capabilities. With a market potential of $600 million in direct-to-consumer and international distributor revenue and $2 billion in OEM licensing, American AAIRF is positioned for substantial growth. Their partnership with the UFC, household awareness, connection with top athletes and celebrities all enhances their reach and their credibility. And their growth plan includes scaling up existing drivers, deepening relationships with top athletes, and expanding internationally. So why not jump in and join the movement towards better health and well-being? Discover AAIRF Tech today and see why the company behind the product, American AAIRF, is poised for amazing growth. Protect yourself and protect your family from harmful EMF radiation, and be sure to check out the links in the description below to learn more about American AAIRF and how you can be a part of their work. And we'll see you on the next one.